Hi there, friends and neighbors and students. Hope things are going well for you this semester. I hope you're not frozen to a tree somewhere up in Logan while those of us who live in Provo are basking in the tropical sun of only 4 inches of snow and only 25 degrees. Yeah, I love winter anyway, so that's. I hope you do too. Hey, you're probably sitting here thinking about the paper right now, and it's really pressing on your mind, and you're wondering about this paper. And remember, I've already said that if you get it published, you get an A, right? But we are really tough on grading, so I want you to do your best work ever. And I hope you've seen that Shackleton documentary and that you look at that and you go, wow, that's a compelling story, a real compelling story. And the question of whether or not he was a good leader is a real compelling question. And that's sucking you in and you're starting to think about that. And then the first thing you have to do, the really first thing, this is from the rubric, right? Have to have a clearly stated thesis. You see, I don't care. I don't care. And Jordan's the same way. We don't care what your thesis is. Well, we do care in terms of it's defensible, but we don't care which side of the fence you come down on that question. But we do care that you come down on a side. The worst paper you can write is one that goes, oh, it might be this and it might be that. It might be this and it might be that. We don't want that. We don't also want to report on his trip. We know all about his trip. I know more about his trip than you'll ever know about his trip, probably. So we don't want that. But we do want you to say, I think he was a great leader, or I think he wasn't a great leader, and here are my reasons. And so that clearly stated thesis is the first thing that we look for. The second thing we look for, once you build that thesis, are the reasons why that thesis is true. Now, I will tell you this, that there are hundreds of trial lawyers in the United States who sit around and wonder why they lost a case in court. Sometimes you lose a case in court because you're too strong. See, what I do when I write an argumentative essay, and I do a lot of this, is I'll sit down and write my thesis. The thesis is that destination. This is where I want my reader to be. This is what I want my reader to believe at the end of my thesis. And then I'll write, why is that true? And I'll start listing the reasons that's true. Those are called warrants. Those are the things, the reasons it's true. But the worst thing you can do again is have too many warrants. Once I put down 10 or 15 or 20 warrants, I pick the strongest 2, 3, 4, 5. 3's sort of the perfect number. 2 can do it. 5 is getting to be too much. When I wrote an argument, an 80-page argument that said why Utah Valley University should be a university when I was working there, I had 8 warrants, 8 reasons why it was true. That was 80 pages, and that was something that went to the governors and the regents and all university presidents. It was a big-time document. You got room for maybe 3 warrants. Pick your 3 best reasons and let the other ones fall apart. You don't need to say everything. You need to say your 3 strongest things. And then one of the things you do when you're done with that essay is you just go into it. You get into it, and you cut out everything that's not necessary. Every word that's not necessary, every sentence that's not necessary, every paragraph that's not necessary. So many of the first drafts of essays that I read have these side trips, these detours, that are not central to the warrant, that don't really support the warrant, that are not required. And it makes it wordy, and it's a little bit like driving in the snow. It makes people spin. Yeah, I agreed with your warrant, but now you're taking me over here, and we're spinning our tires over here. We should be going up this hill. So just focus on going up that hill. Make that language concise then and professional in tone. Some of you will choose to write in the first person. That's okay. Some of you will write in the third person. That's probably a little bit better. Wherever you are comfortable, but make that tone professional, whether it's in the first person or the second person. Then take that thesis and connect it to the end. Make sure that you take at the end of this, in your conclusion, you say, I just told you this and explained this, this, and this. Therefore, and then you have solid implications at the end of that tell you why this argument is true and why it's so important. And finally, one of the things that we look for, and we look for a lot, is the good use of course material. Because in the end, these papers are your opportunity to display to me and to display to Jordan how much you've learned this semester, what you've learned this semester. And so that means like a very common thesis that we get will be somebody will do an emotional intelligence based analysis of Ernest Shackleton. They'll take the, oh, it's not here with me right now, but they'll take the leadership book that where we read Coleman's book, work on emotional intelligence, which is really good work. And they'll use Shackleton as the case statement, and I'll read that and go, they really know emotional intelligence. And that helps me give this an A. Now, I don't expect you to use 10 different theories or 5 different readings or all these different ideas in there, but pick 1 or 2 of them and use those, make reference to those in the essay so that I know that you know, so that I know that you know the material from the class. Because that, in the end, is what this whole exercise is about, is showing me, showing Jordan that you've read the material and that you know the material of the class. So that's what we're looking for. That's what we hope will come floating over our transit in a few days. And we will turn those around, grade them very quickly, get you the feedback. Some of you will have the opportunity to rewrite. But you really only earn the opportunity to rewrite if we truly believe that that's the best essay you've ever written, and it can be even better with feedback. Now, I am currently writing a book. Not the first time, I've written several, 4 or 5. I'm writing a book, and I want this to be the best book I've ever written. And I am constantly seeking feedback from students, from colleagues, from peers, from anybody. I'm constantly seeking feedback about my book. So feedback is something you should become very comfortable with when you're writing. Always seek that feedback. So that's today's class. That's today's class on that particular topic and what we're going to be talking about. Please keep focusing on that. Remember, this is 30% of your grade. We'll give you quick feedback, and then you turn around and write your second essay. Your next essay is 40% of your grade. So 70% of your grade are these 2 essays. Really important stuff. So focus on those, get those right. Those are really the distinguishing factors in this class. If you do well on the essays, I have a really hard time giving you a bad grade, because a good writer is a good thinker. Thanks, guys.